Hi guys, so in this lesson, again touching on themes that we've looked at previously, we're going to look at responses to the loss of sovereignty or the perceived loss of sovereignty in the form of nationalism and controlling migration. One term that you do really need to know is jingoism, and that's an extreme form of patriotism. It can take often does take a particularly aggressive form with foreign policy, and is normally identifies a enemy force or infers that there is a force or an enemy or group of people that you need to be concerned about. Jingoism does pop up quite often in democratic nations. It can pop up during times as countries are coming up for a change of government. One thing for you to have to think about, in no way am I suggesting this is a case of jingoism, but the at times sensitive relationship that China and Japan has. In contemporary terms, this can be traced back to the Second World War, but there are other issues there. Certainly we've seen this with some of China and Hong Kong's attitudes towards Japan over the disputed islands in the Pacific Ocean. And one thing that I personally did notice back a couple of years ago when we were having this conflict, Japan Home Centre in Hong Kong suddenly overnight changed the signs of some of its shops to China Home Centre for about a month, and then it promptly changed back to the Japan Home Centre. So some things for you to think about. Nationalism. Please don't get me wrong. Nationalism can be a very good thing. It's national pride, it's identity, it brings peoples together, working towards a common cause. It can be really beneficial for a country. Certainly, nationalism involves a very strong identification. We've seen what happens if you don't have a strong identification. You have problems at the very mild end. You've got the issues that we have in Belgium. At the more extreme end, we've got the issues that we can see in countries like Burma and the former Yugoslavian states. Nationalism is often the belief that an ethnic group has the right to statehood, or that citizenship in a state should be limited to one ethnic group. There again, we're getting over to ideas of a sovereign nation state where you have that common identification, self-identification of the citizens to that state. Turkey is a very good example of nationalism. Turkey has a very, very strong identity. You will see pictures absolutely everywhere of Father Turk or Ataturk. He was absolutely fantastic. He took the area that Turkey now occupies, and he unified the whole country. Really, without his efforts, it's very unlikely that Turkey would exist in the format that it does today. Video there for you to watch. Nationalism very much for me is a double-edged sword. I am very proud of my nationality, but equally I really don't like some aspects of nationalism, particularly where it phases over towards jingoism. Another very popular and common response to loss of sovereignty is that of controlling migration. Migrants. I am a migrant. I live in Hong Kong. I'm a UK citizen, so I'm a migrant. Migrants are a very, very convenient scapegoat to blame for the ills of a country. It's very easy to blame it on the migrants. Certainly with the UK Independence Party, we're seeing that a lot, unfortunately, in the UK. We'll blame the migrants. We'll start controlling the migrants. We will send them back because they're the ones causing the problems. So you might like to look at the situation that we have in the UK, which is very much moving towards a situation where migration is going to be controlled. Does this need to happen? Is it the right thing to happen? Or is it a response to the country's perceived lack of sovereignty? It's interesting that this issue has came up after the Scottish referendum where Scotland has agreed to stay part of the United Kingdom. There are some videos for you to watch, this time on Mexico. Mexican president here talking about illegal migration. Fantastic video here, being an illegal immigrant for a day. What is it actually like to be an illegal immigrant from across the Mexican border to America. Great source as well. Have a look at this source. The BBC video gives you some really good guide to what's happening in Europe. In particular, the conflict and tensions arise with Europe over the what is perceived a very large migration of Eastern European people, perfectly legally, because they are members of the European Union, into the UK. And now many people in the UK, many politicians feel that this is causing a problem, and so the UK is starting to call for controls on migration. Ask, is this necessary to happen, or is it a result to, as a reaction to fear or the perceived or actual loss of sovereignty?